Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Threezero DLX scale Transformers figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at our first Megatron in the line. It's the leader of the Decepticons based off his appearance in Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen. Say what you will about that movie and the busyness of Megatron's design in live action. I reckon Threezero is the perfect company to take that Bayverse look and translate it into figure format. This DLX line is low-key one of my favorites to collect. I do want to say thank you to Threezero for sending me this review sample, but that doesn't mean I'm only going to say good things. All opinions, as always, are 100% my own. I have popped the link to Threezero's website if you'd like to grab yourself your own copy of Megatron in the description below. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Threezero Transformers review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, is it just me, or does this kind of call back to the old school leader class figures from back in the day? Especially this part down here with the Decepticon logo in this cog of sorts and his name with that purple in the background. I love the way it looks, no complaints from me. Got Transformers on the side, as well as an image of Megatron, and I'm pretty sure this is the actual figure, just with a bunch of effects over the top. This little flame effect, it's a nice touch. On the side of the box, his name with this propeller-style logo in the background. Not quite sure what that is. Threezero's logo down below, as well as Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Then, in the background, in almost grayscale, this awesome up-close image of DLX scale Megatron. Around the back, Transformers, DLX, a Decepticon logo, Megatron, as well as some warnings and legal info. Going with this purple color palette just here and there, it's not overdone, yet it's enough to tie into that Decepticon theme. You can flip open the front cover to reveal Megatron inside, and on the inside of that front cover, another Decepticon symbol, as well as a couple of product shots of Megatron himself. It's at this point that I'm just now realizing what I'm getting myself into. Going over articulation on this thing with how crazy Threezero's engineering is? Yeah, I'm dreading that segment, but right now we don't have to worry about that. First in-hand impressions for DLX Megatron? This dude is an absolute monster. His feet are huge, he's nice and chunky, and he's extremely heavy. What we are going to do now, though, is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. You can't deny Threezero have kept this display base style pretty consistent across the line. All the way back in the day with the first figure in the line, DLX Scale B from the Bumblebee movie, he introduced us to this style of display base, and every figure since has had the exact same base. Consistency, as always, is king. We have all this tech circuitry on the surface. It's nice and slim and low profile, so it doesn't add too much height to Megatron in the display. It is, however, quite deep and wide, so it's not to say that it's not substantial. It is. Now, going with this dark navy blue color rather than the black or gunmetal that we're used to seeing, it just helps differentiate Megatron, and I like that. Now up top, we do have this multi-jointed flight pole arm. You can lock it in position. You will need this locking mechanism because Megatron himself is quite heavy. And up top, the arm itself is telescopic and on ratchets, which means when you have it there, it is properly locked in place. And lastly, this piece can also be adjusted. If you want Megatron sitting a little bit higher, you remove this piece, plug it back in at your desired position, and that too is locked in place. So basically, everything locks in place on that display base is what I'm trying to say. A very well-engineered base for a very well-engineered figure. You do have a swap-out fusion cannon. It connects down the bottom with this rubber gasket in the port. You'll see what I mean later. There's a blade at the bottom, a smaller one at the top, and combined, is it just me, or with these jaggedy edges, does this not look like some kind of seafood thing, like a lobster claw? Either way, I can't wait to pop this on Megatron. I am so sorry, if I've now ruined that fusion cannon for you and now all you can see is a lobster claw, yeah, I apologize. You do get to swap out hands, if you want to call these hands. All of his individual little spindly fingers, they're rubbery plastic, so I don't think they're going to break on you. They feel very, very sturdy. They're painted well, you've got washers in all the little bits and pieces, and they look suitably rusty. What we are going to do now, though, is get Megatron himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Threezero, how do you keep doing this? How do you keep making figures as disgustingly beautiful as this guy is? I don't think I've ever used that set of adjectives before. But I mean it, he looks spot on to the CGI model. And in the film, I know they made reference models. I do. Practical things that they could use for lighting reference, etc. They never had to pose. They never had to articulate. They never had engineering. They never had to be sturdy. They never had LED light up features. This guy has all of that and so much more. You'll see what I mean in just a second. And the finish? It looks rusty. It looks nasty. It looks like if you would touch it, you're going to get tetanus. But that's exactly how he should look. He was at the bottom of the ocean. He was getting all rusty and gross. So they took that. They ran with it. They added some metallics to it. They added some gold here and there. And even though I thought initially this guy might not sing as much as he does, on camera, you can't argue with that. This guy, he looks like an absolute beast. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Megatron's head sculpt. What a head sculpt this is. It looks just like Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. He looks mean and menacing. He's got these big spikes around the back and this massive head crest. He also has a slightly open mouth with these little jaggedy teeth on the inside, and some piercing red LEDs for his eyes. This little crest is actually the button for the LEDs, and I love that. You don't have to disassemble the head sculpt, you don't have to use any little screwdrivers to get in there, and you don't have to flick a tiny switch. One button on the outside and job done. The only complaint I have is I kind of wish the mouth was articulated. I don't mind it being open, it works great in dynamic poses, but for more static museum-style poses, I would have liked to been able to close that mouth. Not a deal breaker by any means, just something that potentially they could include on their next Megatron. Fingers crossed for Dark of the Moon. Around the back of the head sculpt, there's even some vent work and some panel lines here. Even on the underside of the crest, you can see some sculpted detail. Around the side of the neck, up top here. This guy's just chock full of detail. Got some Cybertronian glyphs here and there. You've also got the thrusters around the back. And you also have some mini thrusters down on his thighs, and even underneath this top portion of the back, there are some little thrusters there as well. Got some pops of gold and amber and silver and gunmetal, and then over the top of all of that, this rust effect, which does look very convincing. If you're wondering how to attach Megatron to his stand, it's pretty straightforward. You remove this panel around the back that's pegged in place, then you can plug the stand in. And it's a very secure connection, which is a good thing because Megatron himself is quite heavy. One other thing I want to discuss while we're back here is if you crunch him forward, there's a whole bunch of hidden detail tucked up underneath the upper torso. It's all fully painted, and there's some unique sculpt work up here that, down below, it's not just like they repeated this stuff down here and popped it up the top. It does look different. There's more hidden detail to discover underneath various panels and parts and pieces. The proportions here, they're spot on. He's got these very skinny elbows, which we'll discuss in just a second. Then these massive chonky thighs and even bigger feet. He's very, very planted. This guy, he's not going anywhere if you pose him correctly in the display. Now the finish, I was worried about. I thought it might be boring. Boring is the last word I'd use to describe him now I have him in hand. He's metallic and shiny where he needs to be, as you can see on these thighs and up the top. There are washes in literally every single crevice down to the individual fingers. And then you've got the rust work on top. And it's textural too. You can feel all of that pitting on the surface of the panels. It's not just completely smooth, it actually feels as weathered as it looks. Got some Cybertronian glyphs here and there. And it is an asymmetrical design. You've got a different hand on this side compared to this one, a bigger shoulder pad on the right side compared to the left. Oh, and it's worth noting that these pieces, the shoulder pads, there's even this panel on the front of the shoulder pad, it all moves out the way. It's all in service of articulation to get maximum range. The engineering here is crazy. Even these little pieces move their own ball joints. This shoulder pad articulates out at multiple different sections. And while this looks like it'd be too thin and it would break on you, it's made of die-cast metal. This entire thin, skinny elbow joint is metal. So for me, that does the trick. I'm not worried about breakage. Not to mention, these fingers, little spindly bits and pieces, they're all rubbery plastic. They're not fragile, they can flex, they're going to bend way before they break. If you're wondering what he looks like with his massive fusion cannon on, oh hell yes, this fusion cannon is a monster. He's always going to be rocking this for me. The massive blade down the bottom is sick. He's also got another blade up on top. There are gold sections and the rusty finish. It ties the entire look together. It looks like it's formed out of his body. It looks entirely seamless, is what I'm trying to say. Even though the barrel doesn't light up like his eyes, I don't really miss that feature. There is plenty of paint here. You've got silver dry brushing. You've also got washes in all the nooks and crannies. So I think the paint does make up for the lack of a light up feature in the fusion cannon. While I was popping that on, I also popped on his splayed out open finger hand. And these are made of that rubbery material just like the regular hand, so if you put too much pressure on it when it comes to posing, say you're moving the forearm and you grab this, I don't reckon they're going to break on you. Still, I would suggest using a little bit of caution when handling that. Removing his fusion cannon is straightforward enough. It just pegs onto this metal post that is keyed, so you know you've plugged it in correctly when you line up the notch on the outside with the groove on either the forearm or the fusion cannon. And when you plug either of them in, I would suggest giving it a little bit of a wiggle because there is a rubber gasket that clamps tightly around that metal peg. I have also now popped on the splayed out open finger hand on both sides. Well, this is what that looks like. Seeing as though his legs are predominantly made up of the tank bits and pieces and the tank treads at the bottom, Threezero thought they'd be a little bit clever with the engineering. This might just be one of the coolest things I've ever seen them do. When you bend his knee, the tank tread moves along with the knee. I don't know why that makes me as happy as it does, but seeing that, there's something just so magical about having bits and pieces that move so fluidly along with joints. That cannot have been easy to engineer. Then the paint applications are still really good all the way down. Got some little pistons and mechanical bits and pieces and a lot more tank tread. Even around the back, I love how it conforms to the underside of his foot. For articulation, you would think that there wouldn't be a ton. Just wait and see. When we get to the articulation segment, I think this guy is really going to surprise you because he definitely surprised me. For a quick side-by-side comparison, I don't think it gets much better than this. DLX Megatron, DLX Optimus Prime, both from Threezero, both from Revenge of the Fallen. Yeah, nah, I'm done. This is as close to perfect as I think we're ever going to get. Megatron is taller than Optimus, the proportions on both of them are spot on to the CGI models. He's not only taller, he's also bigger and chunkier. There's significantly more bulk on Megs. Down below for his feet, you can see how chunky they are. Yes, they don't transform, and that's fine with me. I would much rather very well engineered, beautifully painted, expertly sculpted versions of these guys' bot modes with crazy engineering, rather than a just okay vehicle mode with panel lines all over the hood of the truck and other places where they just shouldn't be. Before you flame me, Transformers purist, I get it, I do, I grew up with Transformers, I love my transforming bots just as much as the next guy. And I know you want to have anything called a transformer to be able to transform, it's simple enough. I just think we've come so much further than that. I no longer need to be able to transform Bumblebee, that we have in front of us, into his Camaro mode. I'll buy a separate Camaro that's perfect, with no panel lines all over the doors and the windows and the hood. Each to their own though. If you like, and only want to stick to transforming figures, there are figures that can do that for you. Here we have Rise of the Beast Bumblebee, rant over, I do apologize. I know this is not quite the right Bumblebee to pair with Megatron, two different universes, perhaps. He is significantly shorter than Megs, so I think the scaling is at least accurate. Oh my word, I always forget how big this Jetfire combo Optimus Prime is. He's a freaking beast. Compared to Megatron, he is significantly taller now. He's also much wider with the huge turbines and the wing bits and pieces and the gun and all of the other attachments. So if you want Optimus to be bigger than Megatron, this is probably your winning combo. For me, I'm going to have Jetfire Optimus in the middle, Megatron on the left, and normal Optimus on the right. For now, that's going to be my trio. Going over Megatron's articulation, please don't count this as a comprehensive overview by any means. When you get him, go through the instructions and explore the joints yourself. Because chances are, I'm going to miss something Everything moves on this guy. All the little panels there on ball joints and stuff can move where you really don't think it should be able to. So like I said, you can explore on your own. Starting off with Megatron's head sculpt, it's on some kind of ball joint articulated neck combination. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, that's some crazy range, swivel, and pivot side to side. Seeing as though the design is asymmetrical, you'd think that the articulation would be different. It's actually the same. The endoskeleton is symmetrical, at least I think it is. So the shoulder pads can both move out of the way, this big one as well. I suggest you do that to avoid paint rub. The arm can go up to there. It can go forward and back. There's also a ball joint that hinges forward and goes up and down. And as you're moving it, this whole contraption moves as well. Swivel at the bicep, multiple bends at the elbow, at least 2 getting you the full way. Then for the wrist peg, it's a good old-fashioned ball joint. This is my favorite part. It always is with these Threezero figures. The torso, you can crunch it forward to there. I cannot believe this is even possible with how big and chunky this guy is. Going back is a little bit more limited. You do get swivel and pivot side to side. These hip skirts are articulated, so once again, just like the shoulder pads, move them out the way, save yourself the hassle of paint rub. The legs will go forward to there, if not even a little bit further actually. Going out to there, you also get a swivel at the upper thigh. I still can't get over that tank tread. As you bend the knee, seeing that move, it's just a little bit special. Around the back, you can extend down this panel and drop his foot down. Basically, what that does is, number one, gives him a little bit more height. As you can see, this side is now lower than this one. And it enables you to bend the knee slightly further on 2 joints. His foot can swivel. It can also move forward and back. There's a very stiff hinge inside there. And you get ankle tilt. That's not all. You can also extend the foot down. As you can see, now it's sitting lower. That means you can get even more range of motion in pretty much every direction. Wrapping up on Threezero's Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. This is their best figure in the line, hands down. Every time I review one of these DLX figures, I get so excited because chances are they're going to outdo themselves, and they have. I don't know how this thing articulates the way it does. The engineering with all of the jagged edges and the bits and pieces sticking out everywhere, it's insane. And while you can see some of the hinges, specifically at the shoulders, it's not a deal breaker for me. It has to move somehow, and they've hidden most of it. It's only a couple of little bits and pieces that you can spot if you're looking for them. The finish on this guy is outstanding. He's dirty, he's grimy, and he's super rusty looking. Being at the bottom of the Laurentian Abyss in Transformers 1, they dumped his body there, and sitting there for a while, and rusting, and oxidizing, he would look completely disgusting when they pulled him out of the ocean. Then the head sculpt with the LED light-up eyes and using bigger button cell batteries so they don't die very quickly. I haven't had to change the batteries at all in this video. Those are all the pluses. The only complaint that I have is, none. I can't think of any, seriously. This guy is that freaking good. Like I said, the best in the DLX line so far. He's got some esteemed company. He sits there alongside Bumblebee Optimus Prime, Rise of the Beast Bumblebee, I love that figure seriously, and Jet Power Optimus Prime, a true centerpiece. Even that guy I don't think looks as good as Megatron does. He looks just like the CGI model plonked in front of me in the lightbox. I am that impressed with this figure. If you're a Bayverse fan, if you're looking for the ultimate Megatron, this I think is the one for you. Yes, even though he doesn't transform, I don't need him to. I want him to be as accurate as possible, as posable as possible, and this guy, he delivers on all accounts. Now, I do want to stress that even though this is a review sample, I promise all of those opinions are 100% my own. You've seen the figure along with me. You can make up your own mind. You don't just have to take my word for it. When you get this guy in hand, you will know exactly what I mean. He is that good. I have popped the link to Threezero's website in the description below where you can pick up your very own copy of Megatron. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.